Well, the reason I started using leather is because I was using shoes. And I started deconstructing some objects, such as a purse, a pair of shoes, some gloves, a hat. I took apart a shoe for an installation, and I just became in love with that material, and I've been using it ever since. The only way that I change them is in how they are put together. So I will twist them or turn them, but I don't necessarily they pretty much maintain the integrity of what they are, but when they're taken apart entirely, you can't really tell what they are. They don't necessarily look like a piece of a shoe anymore. It's important to me to not do this by a machine because the idea is the process as much as it is the final product. I want you to be able to see the process in the final product. When I started working with the leather and sewing it, I started to feel like, I need to be in a sewing circle. I just sort of had this enjoyment out of a process which, when I was a little kid, I had no interest in learning. I'm well aware that the material that I'm using is going to have these different connotations. It's a very supple, beautiful material to use, but I know that black leather is a very sexually charged material, and so obviously the forms that I'm making are going to have a certain reference depending on how I put them together. I do kind of see it as kind of a little category that you might call, creation of this object of desire, and specifically mine. It's a very personal thing. What I started doing is turning these objects into what I called female fetish objects, and subverting what was typically thought of as, a male perversion, like the shoe fetish, say, something like that, and turning it into my own kind of little fantasy world. Most of my work in the last 10 years has been about feminine sexuality, so that this just became another form for me to explore that issue. In the process of what I call fetishizing them, I'm treating each piece in a certain way. There's a great deal of care taken with each piece. I don't necessarily make them to be used. They are not useful. They look useful, and that's sort of the key. And the idea that this is something that has a strap or a buckle or something that needs to be somehow placed somewhere, but yet it's not. It's not really possible, but it's just sort of evoking that idea from it. It's really funny to watch people come into a gallery and look at these things they've never seen before, and they kind of get this funny look on their face. Not everybody, obviously, but it's just, they're going, should I be thinking this is what it is? I in no way expect that everybody's going to see what I see. And, a lot of the work was based on sort of subverting, a psychoanalytic theory that talks about male fetishism. And so I don't necessarily expect that people are going to come to see my work and see this process unfolding, but I think that they do see that it is a feminine process, and that tends to be what's more important to me. I'm just wanting them to kind of take off. I'm wanting the objects to not necessarily be discrete objects, but maybe they move around the space somehow. I want to, I think, relinquish a little bit of control. I think I have a tendency to be a bit too much of a control freak when it comes to my work.